I've come back from the future to warn you that if you don't subscribe to SSJ, your future is grim. I haven't reviewed Dragon Ball Daima in full on my channel, but let's be honest, former Dragon Ball editor Kazuhiko Torishima called Daima trash. I didn't exactly disagree. He even said that a Vegeta spinoff would have been better. Honestly, I think he was right. Back when Dragon Ball Super was still airing, there were rumors about Vegeta possibly getting a spinoff where he would explore planet Sadala, Sand Homeworld, in Universe 6. But here's the thing, what if instead of Vegeta, Toei took even further back and gave us something entirely different? What if Bardock, Goku's father, the tragic warrior of planet Vegeta, finally got his own spinoff series? So let's start with the obvious. Bardock isn't some forgotten one-off character. Ever since his TV special in the early 90s, Bardock, the father of Goku, he's been one of the most iconic side characters in the entire franchise. Fans love Bardock because he represents everything gritty about Saiyan culture. He's not noble like Goku. He's not royal like Vegeta. He's a low-class warrior, battle-hardened and scarred, who took a stand against Frieza even though he knew he couldn't win. That final moment in the Z special when Bardock stares down Frieza's massive death ball cemented him as a tragic legend. Decades later, Bardock is still relevant. He came back in Dragon Ball Super Broly, and he came back in the Super manga during the Granola arc. He's a character that refuses to fade away, and that popularity alone makes him a prime candidate for his own story. So the evolution of Bardock's character, but Bardock isn't some character in the 90s. He's actually gone through some major retcons. In his original portrayal, Bardock was a gruff warrior who didn't care too much of Kakarot. He was cold, detached, and had a unique ability to see into the future, which he gained later. This gave his story a tragic weight. Fast forward to Dragon Ball Super, Bardock is rewritten to align more with the Dragon Ball Minus manga. Instead of the ruthless mercenary he once was, we see a father who shows compassion, more in line to think Jor-El from Superman. In the Granola arc, Bardock saves Granola and his mother, something the old Bardock probably never would have done. Here's where a spin-off could be brilliant. A Bardock series could merge these two interpretations, allowing him as a hardened fighter from Z and a conflicted protector from Super. He could start out cold and ruthless, but over time we'd see cracks in that armor, moments of mercy, questioning the Sand way. That inner conflict would make him one of the most layered characters in the franchise, exploring Sand culture and history. And let's be real, we've never truly gotten to explore Sand society in depth. We just know bits and pieces, such as King Vegeta's rule, the Sands working under Frieza, their role as planet conquerors, and most of that is just lore dropped in passing pretty much. A Bardock spin-off would pretty much finally let us live in that world where we see the Sand culture from the ground level, their rivalries, their teamwork, brutal missions, and how we see the Sand hierarchy work, not just a perspective of royalty, but from low-class fighting warriors for survival. Imagine episodes where Bardock and his squad are sent on missions to conquer hostile planets. That'd be cool. Imagine the political tension of Sands working under Frieza, knowing he doesn't trust them but still being forced to obey. There's so much potential storytelling here. So untold missions and story ideas. And the great thing is, Bardock's life before Frieza destroyed planet Vegeta is mostly a blank slate, so that pretty much gives the writers to explore some freedom. Maybe Bardock and his crew were sent on missions and that pretty much tested their loyalty. Maybe he heard whispers of divine beings such as the god of destruction, even Beerus, long before they were revealed in Super. Kind of connect that tissue. Maybe we explore Bardock brushing up against the legend of the Super Saiyan. Maybe not a full transformation because he can't overshadow Goku, but maybe a false or unstable Super Saiyan form hinted that came at the power to come for his legacy. And of course, there's room to expand Bardock's relationships with his crew or his wife Gine, how they met each other, how they established their relationship after they had Kakarot and Raditz, even with other Saiyans who question Frieza's rule. These are stories Dragon Ball has never told, and Bardock is the perfect character to carry these and further expand the lore of Dragon Ball. A different flavor of Dragon Ball. One of the reasons Dragon Ball spin-offs have struggled is because they often feel like some formula on repeat. Heroes get stronger, fight tougher villains, rinse and repeat. A Bardock series doesn't have to do that. Instead, it could focus on strategy, survival, and the harsh realities of war. Think less martial arts tournament, more space opera. Bardock can't just blast his way out of every problem. He'd have to outthink enemies, deal with betrayals, face impossible odds, maybe even just take beat down. That kind of storytelling would make for a spin-off feel unique while keeping it firmly in the Dragon Ball universe. Canon flexibility. Another huge advantage is that Bardock's story is flexible. We know how it ends. He dies while facing Frieza in space. So we don't know everything that came before truly. That's years of untold material that could fill a season or two easily. And if Toei wanted to push it further, they could experiment with what if scenarios, alternate timelines, survival stories, even messing around with the Super Saiyan Bardock story even, but it would give the fans something exciting to chew on. So then you also have the business side of things. Let's not forget that Dragon Ball is also business, and a Bardock series would sell 100%. New Saiyan characters, new alien civilizations, new battles. So in all, Bardock is more than just Goku's father. He's a character with popularity, the depth, and the narrative potential to carry his own series. With Dragon Ball Daima failing to excite much of the fan base, maybe it's time Toei and Shueisha look at characters that could actually deliver. And a Bardock spin-off series would expand the Saiyan history, give us a darker, more tragic perspective on the Dragon Ball universe, and finally let us experience the rise and fall of Planet Vegeta through the eyes of its most fascinating warriors. Dragon Ball is always about moving forward, but sometimes the best stories come from looking back, and Bardock stories deserves to be told.
She don't wanna be saved, don't save her. 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 She don't wanna be saved.